Hey everybody, Jim Gonzalez here, EDI Support LLC. At this point, most people know who I am. I've been doing EDI for over 28 years, so a long time. And what I'm loving about today is I get to be joined by Brandon Joyce over at Bitfreighter, and I'm going to turn it over to him so that he can introduce himself and what he does. Go for it, Brandon.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Brandon. I have also been a nerd for a very long time. Sounds like we're pretty similar in age. I've been a software engineer since 2000, and I've hopped from industry to industry, healthcare, legal, home building, logistics, healthcare. I don't know if I said that, but yeah, just kind of get in and learn what I can. And now I'm the CTO and co-founder at Bitfreighter. It's been 6 years of doing that, and it's been wonderful. And definitely a big part of Bitfreighter is EDI. So happy to be talking to you.
No, and that's awesome. And that's awesome. Just so everybody knows, I always try to find people throughout the years that are, as I call, kindred spirits. People that are here trying to just make a little difference in our world, a little bit more customer service, a little bit less driven all about money. As I always say, profit has to be there or we won't be in business. It's as easy as that. We can say as much as we want, but we won't have cameras, we won't have computers, we'll be on the street panhandling, and that won't be a good look for me at my age. And being that Brandon's around the same age, as you get older, you get colder. So standing outside panhandling ain't my deal. I'm good. So anyways, tell us about Bitfreighter. What's Bitfreighter's focus? Like where are you at in the market? Where do you consider yourself? Like maybe some future things that you guys are thinking about, just because there's some people that maybe haven't heard of Bitfreighter before. And I would love for them to get some insight.
Yeah, sure. Just one caveat. I'm more the tech guy than the sales pitch guy. So I'll do my best though. I obviously, I could tell you quite a bit. So I would categorize two sides of our business right now, which are Shipper Connect, which is integrations. A lot of that is EDI, API, getting connected, doing your load tenders, your shipment status updates, invoicing, getting the systems to, we like to say we make them kiss. So we get that going. That's one side of the business. And then the other side of the business, in a lot of ways is similar. It's still a connection game, but it's automated quoting. So real-time quoting, spot quoting, doing, semi-automated bidding and getting all these loads from other sources into a unified place, automating that. And what is kind of cool over time, we've found that these two sides of the business have a lot of relation because, you quote stuff and then later you get tendered stuff and you can actually figure out the correlation there and learn about what these loads are that you're winning. Not every system. That's actually not something that's universally supported, but, we're figuring it out, getting better.
Yep. So Bitfreighter is as I would say, hyper focused on transportation and logistics. You guys live and breathe in that day in, day out. Whereas like a difference play is EDI support is more agnostic. We're more, we do a lot in order to cash processing, retail, supply chain. We have some transportation and logistics. We have some healthcare. We have some insurance. We're consultants, support, knowledge brokers, as I like to say for some clients. We do have our own platform also, Elevate. Right now it's strictly focused on, or a lot of focus on order to cash processing, maybe some warehousing, that kind of stuff. We're not in transportation or logistics currently. And we're not in healthcare or any of those type of things. And we also are a Boomi partner. So we've been a Boomi partner for 6 years. So this is where I like to share we're different, but we're still the same because we're moving data. It's just it's an industry that you guys are focused in. We're just agnostic.
Yeah. And our co-founder and CEO, Brad Perling, he comes from the freight industry, and a lot of our other employees also come from the freight industry. And so, for us, having that be our focus is a strength. You could build a general purpose EDI technology, but we definitely differentiate ourselves this way, knowing our customers and knowing what they need. And it's one of those, like I said, I've hopped industry to industry. It's one where I've had to hop in and get with these people and like learn what they mean when they say load. What the heck is a load? Like, it sounds simple, but there's all types of loads.
Yeah. Is it a pallet? Is it a carton? Is it cartons onto a pallet? Is it? Are we talking double stacked or single stacked? What are we looking at? Like all
hazardous materials, refrigerated.
Exactly.
It's a load, but we haven't quoted it yet, so it's really not quite a. It gets interesting.
Is it intermodal? Is it coming into a port and we're literally just moving it from a ship to a warehouse, but we have to track it. We have to do track and trace. We have to do, because it takes over new ownership, or like there's a lot of different moving parts that are going on with it. And hey, this is going to be new because this is where we jump from thing to thing. We actually have our first comment, so I'm gonna share that. And we should be seeing it here. All right, cool. So we got Michael Curry. Thank you, Michael. Does Bitfreighter have primarily freight brokers as customers, or a combination of freight brokers and asset-based carriers?
Good question.
Maybe, Brandon, this. This might be more of a sales, but I'll let you take a shot at it and go for it.
I do know. I don't have exact percentages, but by and large, a lot of our customers are brokers, but we do have asset-based carriers as well. And we also have the situations where you have customers that are a little bit of both. We even have some shipper customers. That's an area where we feel like we could grow more in the future, but it's just not quite what we're focused on yet. And that is normally more of the like newer on the scene shippers that aren't as entrenched in EDI the old way, that kind of thing. So yeah, pretty much if you're doing any kind of tendering or any shipment status updates, any of that, we could potentially have you as a customer. So
yep. Now, also, one thing I didn't point out was Bitfreighter is a fully managed platform as of right now, correct?
It's managed. Yeah, we definitely have some customers that are much larger that have their own teams that they do more things themselves. But it usually ends up being a mix. There's just scenarios where it's like we can jump in and help. But I think most of our customers just want to like turn it on, make sure, like, can you just do it? It's kind of the typical scenario.
Yeah, and it's the funny part is because I get asked that by different people, and they're like, "Oh, well, why are you a Boomi team and you're building out Elevate?" I'm like, because we're trying to really just help people wherever they are. Like, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? So it's good hearing that Bitfreighter isn't just, "Oh, well, we're going to take it over and you can't touch this," which is nice because, again, it gives people, like, you make the decision, not me. I ain't telling you which way you have to go.
True. I do think we're pretty upfront about how hard it can be sometimes, though. If somebody doesn't know what they're getting into, I think we can help them understand, like, you're going to need people with this type of expertise to do this. Obviously, we think our platform makes a lot of it easier. But like, we're somebody, I think I'd say we're a trusted advisor in some ways. Like if we're going to have a relationship and you want to own some of this responsibility to set these things up, just because maybe you think you have availability, you already have a team, or whatever reason, we'd love to talk through it and see what really makes sense for your business, basically.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so there's a little bit about us. Here's a little bit of the context as to what we're doing. You know, we're going to talk about in this live session and why. You know, so one of the things that I'm curious is what is Bitfreighter consistently seeing across transportation and logistics clients? Like, what are some of the things that they're bringing to the table that they're like, hey, we need to take care of X, or we need to do that? Is some of it track and trace? Is that what you're starting to see? Some of it, is that more of a convenience, or is it something that's becoming mandated? Where are you seeing, from a development standpoint, people bringing you this repetitive action that you always know, hey, we got to take care of this first, or these first things first?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what quoting was born out of. There was a constant sort of noise about automated quoting. That would be a big one, and it continues to grow. It's funny. Sometimes it'll be like 3 months where there's a new thing that's just like a lot of customers are talking about something, and it's a lot of times driven by what shippers are asking for. In these relationships between brokers, especially, and the shippers kind of hold the cards quite a bit. Obviously the broker is there to serve their customer, who's the shipper, and so if they say jump, you kind of say how high, and sometimes they'll just ask for new things. Of late, we've had a lot of requests for document delivery. So this is a new space for us that we have a working version for a few shippers now, that along with EDI, they also need these PDFs delivered. It's just like, and it's noisy right now on that. We'll see where we are in 3 months. Maybe that'll grow into like a new big thing, and then maybe it won't. There was a lot of the change to get shipment status updates every 15 minutes. Like, your truck is en route and then the shipper kind of scorecards their brokers on this. And if they're not doing it on time, it sort of goes on this scorecard, and then the scorecard affects potentially the long-term relationship of like how many loads they're going to commit to you. And so, we have some capabilities there to be able to like help make sure that those status updates are not only being delivered as we get them, but like if they're not, then being proactive about like notifying and making sure they get sent correctly and monitoring that. I don't know what else. I don't know. There's so many.
So it's funny because when I envision truckers, okay, and I envision freight moving and all of that kind of stuff nowadays, I always think of like you have your phone, or you have some type of device that you have to have with you, and you're like, hey, like, because people want to know the precise second and everything that's going on. And I know people that literally, it's almost like think of it like DoorDash. You can watch.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
you can watch DoorDash or Uber or whoever, and you can see the little progression. Domino's Pizza or whatever. You can see the progression of where the things are. Could you imagine a world where these truck drivers are like, "Hey, I had to stop because I had to use the bathroom," like, and all of a sudden, like, everybody's like, "Oh my God, he's in the bathroom. It took him 5 minutes. What's going on?" Like, I expected my delivery. You can't use a bathroom break. Like, it's crazy because of how in depth we're getting with tracking freight and people and the loads and the tenders and the track and trace from a farm to a restaurant, or from a farm to wherever. And it's crazy how EDI is a part of that.
I'm wondering what the EDI reference code is for a number 1 versus a number 2. I don't know. I'll have to
Well,
look that up.
exactly. And that's the crazy part, is because then we also, on the back end, we have to fulfill the EDI document with making sure it has all of those pieces of information, of knowing, oh, well, they need to have a tow motor to take off all the product on this, or they need to, some of them get as far as, okay, what do we need? Do we need to have a pallet jack? Does the pallet jack need to be electronic? Does it need to have a certain weight reference to it? Because they need to understand what they're pulling off of that trailer when it gets to the facility. And a lot of people don't envision that. And a lot of people don't understand it gets that in depth.
Mm-hmm.
And not always, and this is going to lead into another conversation, not always is it, oh, well, API will beat X12. Really? Does your API have all of those details?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Speaking of kind of the buzzings in the industry, just the word API is thrown around really loosely as just a positive thing, and it could be, but not all APIs are the same. And largely, when you say API, there's not even really a de facto standard for what EDI does. And it's kind of hard. If I could try to simplify it down, it's like EDI is kind of like contractual messages that are well adopted, that people have agreed that this business transaction, such as a load tender, will have data that looks like this, with some wiggle room and nuance, of course, just like any standard where people adopt them a little bit differently. But there is nothing like that in an API that is well adopted. And so any API integration is typically just a new development project. And a lot of conversating about, what does this data mean? I see you have a status field. What types of statuses are there? And, that can be a long process. Whereas with EDI, there's a lot of assumption. You can just turn it on and 90% will work, and you got to tweak some things. That, in terms of that getting going, is just a much faster process. It's unfortunate, I guess, that like the data format and everything is super old, and it's a little tough to, if you're not familiar with it, how to work with it. And then maybe it gets sent by AS2 and SFTP, which aren't particularly familiar to most software engineers and systems. But like, if you can get past all that, it's actually really wonderful. And I try to talk about that a lot. It's a hard sell, because most really engineering teams are going to look at EDI for the first time and be like, this must be terrible.
Yeah, no, seriously. And that's, and well, it's old. That was in the 70s. I'm like,
right.
Yeah, but it works. Like, when you get into the nuts and bolts of it, you're going to find like API doesn't always work as well as you think it's going to. And it's more of a headache depending on how the tokenization is set up, depending on all the rules and the permissions and the refreshes and all of these things that you're like, oh my God, why does this connection just keep dropping? Like, not to throw them under the bus, I have a client, and again, this isn't transportation or logistics, but I have a client that they were connecting to Acumatica, and all of a sudden their Acumatica connection this morning wasn't working. And it's our fault. But I'm like, if the system's not available for us to reach, what are we supposed to do? Like, what do you want me to do?
Best you can do is alert, and
we'll keep our retries trying. Like, our retries are going to keep pinging for every minute. And don't worry, as soon as that sucker comes online, we will know about it and we'll let you know about it. How does that sound? And again, that's also what I'm finding in transportation and logistics is it's this, I need to be aware immediately. And it's this whole track and trace that people are talking about and people are looking at, and they're going, hey, I need to meet these mandates and I need these, on-time delivery matrix that I have to meet, or I'm no longer moving trucks for them.
Right.
You know, here's one of the things that I just ran across, and it comes to a client that I sent your way, is because, listen, they need to be now. Like they don't need to get set up in 30 days. They need it now because a major retailer is saying, I need it today, or you're not going to get our business because we need to move trucks next week and we need EDI next week because trucks are moving.
Yep.
You know,
we're seeing it with some movement toward API with shippers, actually, which is not as common. Most shippers are all EDI, but some newer shippers we've seen have APIs. And one issue we've been seeing is locations. So like if you have a shipment that's like, you got to go from A to B to C and there are addresses, right? Some of these newer systems appear to be creating essentially locations that are like user input, where they're not sort of standardized as a database that's like an actual geographic location. And so the shipper might send, yeah, it's on Main Street, like or somebody's name, like it's Ben, go to Ben's. And it's like, so you try to send this through a structured system that has a locations database in it, and they end up on their side with, what is Ben? And this is like, and maybe the operator on that end knows what they meant, but it creates duplicates and it can create confusion, and then they have to fix it on their side. And then what's even more weird is that then when they send status updates back for where the truck is, if they don't change it back to say Ben's house, it won't count. And so like there's real finickiness. And that's obviously where like you just need some expertise, and you want to maintain these relationships and do what they need, but it can be challenging for sure.
And that's interesting, because what that does is that pings off of in my head. It goes, okay, so in the world of GS1 and, you know, track and trace, and they want to use global location numbers or what are called GLN numbers and all of these things. And now, you know, in pharmaceuticals, most of your manufacturers and warehouses and all of those things, especially if they're a narcotic or whatever, something that's federally regulated, you know, everything's federally regulated, but to a higher level because it's a narcotic. They all have to have a GLN number. So what are we going to do? Ben's house has a GLN number? Like, bro, you're bringing me a weight bench to my house on a truck, and now everybody's got to have a GLN number for track and trace to work.
This reminds me of the healthcare industry. They have diagnosis codes. They're like ICD-9 and ICD-10. And we used to look some of these crazy ones. There's an ICD-9 code, I think, for falling off of a spacecraft. So, I mean, they apparently do make codes for everything. So.
Well, and that's the part that I think a lot of people aren't understanding, and the people that like us that are into the data, into connecting these systems, into making sure that it works. Track and trace, yes. Do I think we need to track, you know, E. coli outbreaks and all of those things, because it's people's lives and health and all of those things. But also, should people have to then pay extra because we're adding an extra layer that should have been there from the beginning, and now we're playing catch up, and we have people that are writing these requirements that aren't the people that are doing it now. These are people that maybe did it. Again, I've been doing this for 28 years. You've been doing it for 20 some years also. Hey, listen, when I retire in 30 years, if I ever retire, I'll probably die behind my desk. I'm not in this beautiful living room right now. And when somebody finds me, hopefully not being my wife or daughters, when somebody finds me croaked, do you want me in my last months writing about things that I haven't done for 20 years? And again, people are going to get offended and think I'm knocking the individuals that are writing the standardizations and all of those things. But I've seen you. I know how long you've been out of actually doing the work. So you don't want people writing about track and trace and putting requirements of GLNs and all of these things, because if you think of it from a data perspective, track and trace will only work if you have everybody has a number. Every item has a number. There's always lots and serials, but I can tell you not every farmer has lots and serialization enabled, because maybe they're just milking the cow to fill the milk today, and it's going onto a refrigerated truck that's run by Bob, who he met down the road, and Bob happens to have a tractor trailer and a truck, and he can move it for you.
Yeah, there's just a point where technology is not making life actually better.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. And Brandon, you have to be seeing that in the transportation and logistics, because, you know, and a lot of people also don't realize this until you study transportation and logistics, how many are mom and pops where they maybe have 1 to 5 trucks.
Right.
They're not and I'm not trying to be name dropper through these, but they're not the JB Hunts, the NFIs, the big beasts of the world. And what people don't realize is NFI, JB Hunt, and all of them aren't always using a JB Hunt tractor trailer and truck to move product.
That's true. We have obviously customers of all sizes. We have customers that are totally like that. And then I see a lot of our customers, I think a lot of brokers, especially in the industry, they're kind of like their own little technology companies, and they have to adopt technology or build it to really just be efficient and to meet these kind of requirements that we're talking about, because their margins aren't that wide, and they really do need to automate as much as possible. And I think more than any industry I've worked in, I see a lot of out of the box things, which is kind of cool, but also maybe fragile. Like, you see a lot of RPA, a lot of like, there's no way to do this. I must use some AI thing that crawls a website in order to even do this thing to automate it, right? And so, and those things are great. They give our customers like competitive edge. But over time, they're a maintenance overhead, and there's cost to doing them. And whereas, of course, there's that with EDI, but any contractual, like, built for purpose integration is always going to be way more efficient, faster, cheaper than some of the things I see our customers needing to do. And we're obviously starting to help with those because that's what they need. But yeah, it's interesting seeing, you have a brokerage of say 20 people, and sometimes they have a full-fledged engineer on staff because it makes sense. They just have such dynamic needs, and they need like a technical advisor to help them pick what's the best TMS we can use that's going to give us the flexibility that we need to serve our customers. And yeah, it's they're not just focused on the trucks, I guess.
Yeah, no, and they have, I got to go into this portal to put a ship start, and I got to do this over here, and I got to do this over here, and it's all these different systems interacting with each other, and some of them don't even have systems. Again, not to go back and pick on, I got a lot of family and friends that have been truck drivers over the years and that kind of stuff. But most that I've ever interacted with, and I might be biased here in Pennsylvania, they don't want to deal with technology. They want to drive. They want to pick up a load. They want to make sure that their engine's running right. They want to make sure their radio is running right, and leave them alone. Don't bother them with technology. Like, they're cool, and it's ever evolving. And again, this is what our world is evolving to, more, autonomous trucks and all of that funness, which, let's be real, my kids can deal with that stuff. They're going to have to deal with that stuff.
Right.
Do I see us dealing with it in the next 20 to 30 years? No. Like, yeah, everybody can push and Waymo and go see a Waymo. Go see what it does when the signal drops. I've seen them in San Francisco, literally sitting there stuck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where I had to drive around them. And I was like, and I seen two of them within like a 5-minute period when I had my daughters with us. And I'm like, really? Look, there's your autonomous vehicle. So do you want that driving a truck from San Francisco to Pennsylvania? Maybe not. So
you were talking about like maybe a customer that doesn't even have TMS, like they work mostly over the phone or something. That's a very real thing where maybe they have an Excel spreadsheet or something and literally their phone, a couple trucks or something. We've seen what happens is if they do well and they have a relationship with a shipper, and that shipper eventually is going to say, it's been going well, emails, you're past the stage where we will work with you through email. You need to integrate via EDI. So something we built a long time ago was as simple as a setup as we could imagine, where if you don't even have a TMS, we will just give you a screen where you can accept your tenders and send status updates. Like this, it's not a TMS. It's just literally like EDI, accept your tenders and send these status updates.
Yep.
They're going to have to be manually done, but at least you can do it. Like you can still maintain this customer relationship by having this without a TMS, but eventually they kind of get forced into it. You just start having these, their customers essentially asking for that kind of stuff. So
yeah, when we're doing that with Elevate. So Elevate on an order to cash processing, literally we call it web EDI. So it's almost like just a simplified form. We're constantly enhancing it to make it easier and easier as much as we can for a customer to use, which isn't the easiest thing, not gonna lie, because terminology and what we got to do, and we're ever focused on it.
Yeah.
And it's great that you guys have that too, because again, when you're focused on an SMB and you're focused on, one person, one truck, whatever, you got to put yourself in that mentality of, hey, listen, they can go from one person, one truck, and they land the right account and they got the right people behind them. They could collectively make their business grow exponentially. Like, it's crazy because they've earned that trust of being on time, of having an operational vehicle, of doing all these things, not getting in an accident, being overly safe, all of these things, because the margins are so slim on moving product because of insurance, because of paying people, because of equipment, because of all these things. It's crazy. And, so one of the comments we have here again is from Michael Curry, and people always say it. Yes, Michael, it is true. It's easy for customers and trading partners to point the finger at the middleware and integration layer all day long. That's when you're dealing with somebody that's integrated. When you're dealing with somebody that's brand new, just wants to get the job done, and they're doing a web EDI non-integrated interface, this is what leads into the next conversation. What do you think of customer service? Where's customer service rank? Yeah, exactly. The EDI department, they said they'll be back to me in 3 to 5 business days. Does that work for you? Are you okay with that, Mr. Retailer, or Miss Retailer that wants these products and the transportation and everything moving? Are you okay if I tell you? And how's my scorecard going to look? We cool with that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Bitfreighter was just a technology, like half of our company of our employees wouldn't exist. By far where we hire the most people are for supporting our customers, helping them get set up, and understanding freight. You have to, you get emails all day asking, where's this tender? Or I want to connect to this new shipper. We call them CSMs. A CSM that has already set up that particular shipper 100 times is going to be able to help you so much better than like, I'm not going to name names, but a platform that's not at all focused on freight, right? So we can just jump to it, and we're very responsive. I think sometimes we get looped into things like maybe it's kind of the pointing the finger thing, or maybe it's just more misunderstanding of who you're supposed to be talking to, where we get pulled into things that we feel like we're kind of the middleman on, but we do it because it helps. Any way we can help kind of coordinate a better relationship, we definitely help with that. We've had to really put a lot of effort into ticket system and organizing conversation and prioritizing. That team has grown a lot last year. How's yours?
All the stuff us techies don't want to do. Like,
I would have a really hard time. I have a terrible, I can't say no kind of thing about me, and it will, for the kind of work I do, it requires hours of focus. And we definitely have people that are much better at juggling tasks than I am. It takes a particular type of person.
Hey, listen, I had to learn it. It was a development period for me for a long time. Like I said, when I was going to school, it was AS400, System 36s, RPG, like that was my world. And then I had to transition into more of a support, implementation, project management, a lot more organization. My family laughs at me because my desk looks like chaos. And when I say it's organized chaos, if you touch something on my desk, I will know that you moved it. I don't have a red stapler, but I will know that you moved something on my desk. As crazy as a mess that it looks like, I will know it. So, customer service is huge when it comes to our clients, and being responsive and leading along that pathway. And that's one of the things that, Brandon, we've talked about over the years. I've talked with Brad about, that's what differentiates our style of businesses is we're not taking on, $30 million to develop and all kinds of crazy VC money and everything else and leading with the word, because I was at the NRF conference in New York not too long ago. Everybody had AI. And we've talked about this. Like, listen, your bot sending an email response and saying, I'll get back to you in 3 to 5 business days. That's cool, but we're going to lose our business.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, and they're leading with, oh, well, we're going to automate, and AI is going to build the maps and build the connections and do all of these things. Okay, is AI going to pick up the phone or jump into a Zoom meeting and do all of those things that are necessary because you have an IT staff that's on the other side? Because let's lead back to the data aspect. The data is not referenceable. So we got to try to figure out and come up with a method to the madness of delivering the data.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you going to do that with AI? Like, I'm not knocking AI. AI is going to be able to do a lot of different things, but I don't think in my time period, I'm going to see it replacing customer service.
No, in fact, we've been keeping tabs on AI for years. I mean, just going back 6 years ago, I'd start dabbling with it to help me write code. And sometime around a year ago, it got to, for us at least, our engineers really started to adopt it. There's coding tools that have gotten really good.
The vibe coding?
I don't know if vibe coding or just, I don't know what, I feel like people, when they say vibe coding, they just mean like just tell it what to do and ship it. It's not quite that
No,
at all.
and that's why Brandon, I mentioned it as a laugh because I see it all over the place, all of the different forums that I'm in and Discord channels and that kind of stuff, where everybody's like, oh, vibe code is it's gonna rule the world, Anthropic, and everybody's gonna take it over. I'm like, when?
Right.
You run your whole business off of vibe code, and you're going to rebuild what Salesforce has taken a team to do, and you're going to do that in a day. Good luck, bro.
Yep. Yeah, totally. But we are starting now to make a more concerted effort in some areas that I would just categorize as assistive to our team. Like when they're doing a mapping, if we already have done this mapping before for this shipper, or we already have the PDFs of all their EDI specs and all that, there's no reason we can't autofill a draft of this is probably what the mapping should be. Take a look. We're starting to do those kind of things, and that's just helpful. Our hope with that is that we'll just get better customer service. It's still face to face. There's just a lot more that's speaking of juggling projects, it might just help us be able to juggle a little more, basically.
Yep. Here we got a new one in here, Kelly Johnson. It's called the spread it all out and see so you can see everything method. Yes, this is very true. And it's interesting because again, we're leading back to a lot of these things we're talking about is, partnerships, having the right people on both sides of the spectrum, having people in the data, having people that are focused on making the relationships known and understanding where they fit into this. Like, where do they fit into it? The people that you hire from a customer service standpoint that know these trucking outfits, logistics outfits, all the brokerages, all of these things that are out there, and having the right people on your team and on your staff to fill those gaps. Because we are looked at as essentially an EDI department for our clients that are utilizing our platforms or our assistants,
Yep.
And that's the big thing, that people just want clear answers. They just want to know, like, you got their back and you're taking care of them. One of the big things that we had talked about that, again, amongst many other things, is how do you feel about those legacy vans that are out there? You can't become a van. You're not a van. You're not an EDI mailbox. Who are you? We're not accepting anymore. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, that is a sticking point for sure. I mean, we obviously, you and I, both of our companies are connected to them, and they are costly. And not only are they costly, but they really don't do much, honestly. That's why you still need us, and they're literally, it's like it's like a old school cell phone bill or something, whereas it's just like the usage gets crazy fast for how much data you're actually sending. And there's really no reason somebody couldn't come on the scene and make a better one. And and that stuff, I think, comes down to reputation and partnerships and getting, the people that are using those vans to consider something else. But in a lot of ways, they're not motivated to do so because I don't think the cost is on their side. So in the case of a shipper, it's like on this system, like it's the broker that's footing the bill for this transfer cost. And so to them, it's like, yeah, if you want to use it, you got to pay for it. So
I want to see the certificates. What made you a van? Who anointed you as being, right? You are a van because of what? What made you a van? Because back in the day, you were the first one to come about in 1996 that heard of FTP. You took a physical server and you stored a document in a folder. Again, I'm a reseller of a van. we love our people, the team that we work with, and on all of those things. But like, we're building out Elevate, and it has a repository, it has historical, it has revisioning, it has all of these things. Why can't we be also considered a van as we're making these connections to retailers or whatever? But again, why? Like, where's the difference? So we got some more questions. The van thing, we can go on a tangent forever.
For sure.
But just, everybody that's out there, if you've ever heard of the requirements to be a van, there is no certification. In 28 years of doing this, there is no registry where everything gets linked up and everybody goes, oh, well, that ID is stored by so-and-so. If there is, prove me wrong. Show me. Tell me what those requirements are, and we will make sure, meaning EDI support and Bitfreighter, that we follow all of those guidelines, knock them off, and now let's consider us a van.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Good. So here's some cool comments that we got. So I'm going to go ahead and don't mind me. Hopefully I don't butcher a name. Pankja. So agreeing with AI may not replace or even handle efficient customer service. What are your views on agentic AI, where we could have SaaS or SaaS specific AI agents to navigate part of EDI process effectively, one process by one agent?
Yeah. So I think I don't see AI getting into the transactional space, like where AI is actually processing your live transactions. It'd be so expensive. But in the upfront setup and the mappings that sort of create the code, that the mapping code that translates between systems, I think it's going to be very useful. More challenging than it sounds, because I think, you can easily go use Claude Code and throw some JSON code at it and tell it to map it, and it does a really good job. What is complex about EDI is the standard itself is very large. If you were to take like a 204 load tender and actually download and get some kind of visual, like data representation of what that EDI spec is, it's large enough that it could get to the point where you're kind of maxing out context windows. So there's going to have to be some design process of how to build agents that are specialized in their areas enough, coordinated to be able to build something like this. And this is actually something I am focusing on and trying to figure out. I think it's going to be very useful, but it's challenging. It's not something you can just slap together.
I totally agree with you, because all the different little nuances and the new little variances between 4010 and 4030 and 5010 and Edifact and VDA and Tradecoms and EBXML, and we're not even just talking about X12. Now we're getting into XML data, and hey, here's another fun thought. Let's throw OCR capabilities into there.
Yes.
Now we're dealing with unstructured, non-standardized. It's a form, and I need to use some type of RPA just to get it into a structuredized format so that I can manipulate it to do what I need to, whether it's JSON, XML, CSV file, whatever it looks like. So
here's some like low-hanging fruit though too. I think things like questions you would have, like if you have a setup already with mappings and stuff, AI could really, I think, do a great job of summarizing what is it doing. Like, because once you get your mappings and stuff, we're not talking about thousands of lines of code or any big data set. That's just like, tell me what this does. Yep. There are a lot of examples of things like that, maybe pointed questions about a particular message where you're like, what does this data mean? You could probably, that would be a pretty simple AI project, I think. There's all sorts of opportunities for it for sure.
Yeah, I think the whole AI thing is, again, it leads back to the data. You got to have the data, you got to have the reference points, you got to have a lot of the examples, because even though you're dealing with CH Robinson or one of the other big outfits that are out there, your 204 may be different from somebody else's 204.
Yep.
Because of what are you moving? What's the product look like? All of those things. There's just tweaks and differences.
And a lot of times it's not in the spec. You've got the spec and then you have reality. And that is something too that I think, you know, once we have some of our AI stuff in place, I think it's going to be a gradual process, but having it be able to take into account the additional nuance as well would be so valuable, because that's where the hidden stuff is. That's the information that took a lot of going back and forth to get, and to forget about it because maybe you don't do that shipper very often and you do it a year later. Are you going to remember that Sally sent you an email about something? You know?
Here's the other fun part. The other fun part is this. Who are you having correct your AI?
Right.
If something goes wrong, is it Jim and Brandon who have been doing it for 20 some years? Or is it somebody that's only been doing it for 6 months and says, well, this is what I learned at this other company? Really? Yep. How about the 20 some years of experience that I've seen this at hundreds of other companies, and I can tell you, you're incorrect.
Right.
So again, it's based off of what did I see? What did you see? And maybe I've seen things that you haven't seen, or maybe you've seen things that I haven't seen. And again, it leads back to, I don't know everything. You don't know everything, but collectively we can make it to where it's going to be 99.9% correct.
Yep. Early on, we I think very early on, we kind of naively built our integrations to shippers as kind of global in a sense. Like if we integrated with like Walmart, we would then the next person that got on Walmart would hop on, and it's nice. That's like an optimization you're reusing. But then we would run into issues time and time again where even these partners are not consistent among themselves. So we had to build a much more advanced like templating system where these setups where we have kind of a shared template. This is what we think 99% should look like, but every installation for a customer can be customized without affecting everybody. That was a bit of a learning curve in our first year or so in business, I guess. So,
yep. And as Peter Conway says, fantastic reality check. I am sure seeing the same.
Nice.
Thank you, Peter. Again, people and individuals that, you know, you have these conversations, you have these type of things. And this is where relationships like ours really work out, because again, there's plenty of business that's out there for all of us.
Oh yeah.
Like if we're all working together and we're all working towards getting this correct, and we're building it off of a customer focused aspect and not a money aspect, we're going to take it in a whole different direction, and we're going to lead things. And yes, Michael Curry, when you're talking about vans, it is a boys club, and not to get canceled, it's a boys and girls club anymore. As a dad of 3 daughters, I had to get myself acclimated that I can't say that terminology of it's a boys club. We got to use everybody. It's a boys and girls club.
It definitely seems like some backroom handshakes kind of stuff, though, for sure.
Yeah. There's some conversations of, hey, we got to keep everybody out of this.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, it'll get uncovered. It'll get taken care of, especially when you have companies like ours.
Oh, yeah.
Working together to provide solutions. We can't be ignored. That's the fun part of this.
There is one other. Do you have more questions?
No. So
literally,
we've been going longer than we had both allotted. But
okay.
this has been a lot of fun. I don't have any more questions. We're good as far as all of that goes. What else would you love to share?
It's actually just something that popped into my head. That's a pattern that I have noticed is, and it might kind of go back to the fact that like, these brokerages do seem like tech companies in and of themselves. I see them switching TMSs a lot more than I thought they would, either switching TMSs or deciding to build their own. And it puts us in, I would say, a good strategic spot, but it's challenging. So like when somebody switches from one TMS to another, it's nice that our system can be kind of a networking router to like keep them connected with their shippers. But it's challenging to make sure that there's no interruption. And in a lot of ways, just because of some of the differences between systems, we have to like really advise eagle eyeing these things, and we obviously help monitor it and everything, but there are issues that are really hard to avoid, and we get better at doing it all the time. But I didn't expect that, I guess, but it sort of makes sense. There's reasons to do it, maybe cost or capabilities or whatever.
No. And we see the same thing in the ERP and WMSs. A lot of times when they're switching systems, we have to become almost like that subject matter expert that says, hey, do you have user-defined fields that are going to take care of X, Y, and Z? Because we're not seeing it coming through when we're testing the migrations and all of that funness.
Yeah.
So it's cool hearing that you're also seeing that. And Michael Curry, there is no offense. We're good. I'm one of those people that I just like to rattle people up. So nobody's offended. We're all good. Nobody's going to be canceled. So this is, again, why partnerships matter, not only from a customer aspect, but all of those things. So, some of the key takeaways that I'm seeing is visibility is a customer experience. It's their issue. It's not always a logistics one. Track and trace only works when data flows cleanly across systems. Legacy infrastructure, the wonderful thing. If you can't get at the data, it's not going to do you any good to say, oh, I got EDI and API. Oh, I do all this. Okay, where's the data? Can I get to it? Do you have it accessible? People can fight those things all day long, and the big thing is partnerships create outcomes. Individual tools can't. I can have Elevate, you can have Bitfreighter with all of your partner information and the quoting and all of those things. If you don't have the people behind it, and you're not driven where, our organizations are dealing with hundreds of customers, but look at the comparison of ratios. Our companies are around the same size, and we have hundreds of customers that we're dealing with, not tens of thousands of customers. I'm willing to bet our technical ratio to customer ratio is a lot smaller and tighter because of customer service focus. When you look at companies that have tens of thousands and they only have 100 or a couple hundred technical people, there's a problem. Your ratio is way off.
One thing I've always noticed, and maybe not fully understood why, but is that small engineering teams are amazing, especially when obviously they have great engineers. We have an amazing team of people that are largely people I've worked with at other jobs in the past.
Yep.
And the amount of stuff that we can do that I see other maybe similar companies to ours, bigger companies that have hundreds of people, and we're rivaling that. It boggles the mind. I have a reaction to it at first of like, oh no, like how can we be expected to compete with that? And then we totally compete with that. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. I don't understand this. So I don't know.
It truly starts, Brandon, it truly starts at the top. it starts with the ownership mindset of the way that I've always looked at it from an ownership level. Everything that happens in the company is my fault. Whether it's good or it's bad, it's my fault because it all starts with me. And I'm willing to bet between you and Brad, you guys also think of it that same way. Is everything is your fault because you hired them. You brought the prospect in as a client. Maybe you were involved in the implementation scoping or whatever, and some of the guarantees and part of the sales or whatever that looks like. Doesn't matter who you put in place, it's still your fault.
I also like to take credit for all their good work too.
Yes, yes, I did it all. It's the pinky in the brain scenario. I'm taking over the world. So, all right. I know we've gone an hour. We allotted 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I think we're going to probably have to do another session at some point in time down the road.
That sounds great.
What are some of the last thoughts you would love to leave people with about Bitfreighter, EDI, API, whatever it is?
I'll just say other people have told me this, so it's not just me. Customers and people we partner with said that we're just compassionate people, like that actually care. And I think that at the end of the day, that's probably the most important thing. So I'll just leave with that, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you, believe me, because a lot of people say I'm very passionate, and I come across very strong, and I'm like, yeah, because I believe in what I'm doing, and I believe in taking care of the customers, and I know Bitfreighter believes in taking care of the customers. Brandon, thank you for being a part of this. Like I said, we've gone so long that I think, who knows? In another couple months, we'll have to do another session.
Sounds good.
I'll put Lena on it because Lena's my marketing guru. But thank you. Thank you for all of your time and effort and everything that we've done today. And everybody else that's out there, take care until we talk again.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Meet Elevate, the modern cloud-based EDI platform designed for growing businesses that may or may not have EDI experience and deserve better. No installs, no servers, just secure real-time EDI that works for you anywhere. Get EDI compliant with 200 plus retailers like Walmart, Target, Chewy.com, Amazon, and more without the hassle of endless back and forth. Elevate automates every document, from purchase orders to shipment notices to invoices, so you can focus on fulfillment, not formatting. We set up your trading partners, map your data, and test every connection end to end. Once approved by your trading partner, you go live quickly and confidently. Have an ERP? You can now easily connect Elevate with your ERP via APIs, CSV, or XML, or use any flat files. All systems will now talk to each other. And when you need help, you get real humans, not bots. We're your EDI team, start to finish. Transparent pricing, no contracts. EDI that actually works for you. Elevate your business today with EDI that cares.